Take me down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Oh, won't you please take me home? Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of home, you know whose home that we're going to check out? Axl Rose. The crazy thing about Axl is that he really wasn't born with the name Axl. He was born with the name William Bruce Rose. However, his mother remarried and she decided to change his name to William Bruce Bailey. However, he found out when he was 17 years old that his father wasn't even Mr. Bailey, so he decided to change his name.
That's right. At just 2 years old, his father left. Apparently there was some kind of perhaps molestation, physical abuse there. He took off. So the mom remarried, and this Bailey guy was also abusive, very abusive to Axl and his sisters, sexually to the sisters, and physically to Axl. So rough childhood for him. We're coming up to the home right now. Literally, it's right behind us. Y'all want to see it? You want to see it?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Let's take a look right now. The childhood home of Axl Rose. Beware of the dog. I don't know where the dog is. Beware. Right?
Right. Always want to beware of wild dogs.
Axl was born here in Lafayette, Indiana on February 6, 1962. He attended Jefferson High School along with Jeffrey Isbell, who now goes by Izzy Stradlin and is the guitar player for Guns N' Roses. He also grew up near here. However, Lafayette isn't a town Axl seems to want to talk much about. If you go back and read or watch his interviews through the years, you will hardly ever hear it mentioned. It's easy to understand why when you take a look back at his time here, where he seemed to have an appetite for destruction. Most of the trouble started after he was going through a pile of papers in his parents' home and figured out the man he thought was his dad wasn't actually his dad. According to one of his childhood friends, Axl and his buddies at one point were playing around with an M80 firecracker when Axl held it too long and it almost blew his hand off. A splint had to be put on his arm. One day soon after that incident, a young boy named Scott Schidler was riding on his bike in front of the house where another kid by the name of Dana Gregory lived. Some skid marks were left on the sidewalk and Dana came out, grabbed the boy, kicked his bike to the ground, and told him to get down and clean up the skid marks. Scott ran to tell his dad, Tom Schidler, what was happening. Tom showed up at the house to confront Dana, at which point Dana told him he'd be willing to fight him. Dana's mom, Marlene, then came out of the house and started yelling. Around that time, Axl showed up and started cursing in front of Marlene's kids, which made her very upset. Then Axl apparently hit her in the arm and neck with the splint that was on his arm, leaving red marks in both spots. Despite all that, Axl became close friends with Gregory later on, and he even had him work for him for a while in LA after Guns N' Roses got huge.
Axl got into a lot of trouble during his years here, including being arrested a couple of times. He also met a lady by the name of Anna Hoon. Anna had a younger brother by the name of Shannon Hoon. She eventually introduced the two of them, which led to Shannon singing co-lead vocals for the song Don't Cry. We talk more about that in our Shannon Hoon video, which we'll link below. Although Axl had some trouble in his past, he actually had a very religious upbringing. He often went to a Pentecostal church several times a week, and when he was only 5 years old, he began to sing in the choir there. He even taught Sunday school at one point. Axl's mother was 16 years old and still attending school when she had him. His father was 20. When Axl was around 2 years old, his parents broke up, and his father ended up abducting him. But his mother was able to get him back. Axl said that he listened to Lynyrd Skynyrd songs repeatedly and that they inspired him to write the song Sweet Child of Mine that topped the Billboard Hot 100 chart. It hit number 1 in 1988. This was such an awesome experience. I don't know about you guys, but I know that I've been a huge Guns N' Roses fan ever since I was a knee-high grasshopper because guess what? My mother is one too.
Mom's a big fan of them, right?
Oh yeah, she loves
Huge fan
Axl.
of Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, crazy. This little house, from this little tiny house to superstardom, Axl Rose. What an interesting story. Crazy how wild he was in this town too. I guess he's still wild to this day. I don't really know. He's getting older now. Is he still wild?
Oh, I'm sure he is. You know how Ozzy is too. Forever wild.
Y'all be sure to hit the like button. smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can come along with us on future adventures.
Come along. Whew.